I've been in this town so long that back in the city, I've been taken for lost and gone. And I've known for a long, long time. I fell in love years ago with an innocent girl from the Spanish Indian home of the heroes and villains, people. That's our topic for the day, the subtopic for the day. We gotta talk about a special guitar here, folks. So let's start off with a little bit of To Tell the Truth. Guitar number one. With your back turned to us, we notice these guitars have arch backs. Guitar number one, would you please state your origin, please?
Yes, I am a guitar made by the luthiers who specialize in violins from the Schönberg region of German Bohemia.
Would you please turn to the audience, guitar? Sure, we remember you. Right, you got that arch back. Nice little guitar from the Schönberg region. Guitar number two. Would you state your name? Yes. I am the guitar played by the famous Beatles. I was made by the descendants of the great luthiers from the Schönberg region of German Bohemia. Guitar number two. Would you please stand to face the audience, please? Yes, I will. Let me be careful because I'm a very valuable guitar. Much more valuable than the rest of these scum. Yes, you are a beautiful guitar. Now, guitar number three. Would you please state your origin?
Yes, I am the guitar from the Schönberg region of the Germany with the luthiers from the violins.
Yeah, that's good enough. Would you please turn to face our audience? Who's telling the truth? Well, they're all telling the truth, folks. And these guitars all sort of have an intertwined history, especially these two guitars right here. The Hofner bass and the Framus. Now let me talk a little bit about Framus, because this is our guitar of the day, folks. This is one that we actually are doing the episode on. Framus, you know what I mean? A German company. The son of Framus actually was the dude that set up Warwick, man. He still owns Warwick, man. So, just a little history for you. Now, I know a lot of people always talk about, you know what I mean, on the internet. You know, I've seen this over the past couple of years, like at least 4 or 5 topics started about the history of the, you know, founders of Framus and Hofner. You know what I mean? Were they Nazis? Because, like, the company history is, like, on the internet. It goes from, like, 1938 to, like, 1946. You know what I mean? There's no talk about what happened in the war. Just a little tiny glimpse of information. But they don't really say what, like, the principles were involved in, man. And you remember Dr. Winston O'Boogie said, a conspiracy of silence speaks louder than words. So there might be something behind that. So we're going to sort of examine, you know what I mean, all of the like existing information out there. Now, I don't make light, you know what I mean, of the Holocaust or anything, any tragedies that have ever happened to mankind. In fact, I feel that the Holocaust was probably the most wicked crime perpetuated in the human race, man. Killing people just based on what book they read regarding, you know, their beliefs on God, man. Isn't that fucked up shit, man? All those people that died just because of the way they worship God? That's just fucking crazy. And it wasn't that long ago. And I always hear people saying, you know what I mean? Oh, man, Hitler killed like 40 million people. Hitler did. As far as I know, Hitler never killed anybody personally, man. It was people around him killing people. It was just regular people, just like you and me, man. Swept into like craziness. Think about how crazy people around you, like normally it's like sane motherfuckers, right? In this time when there's like a craziness pandemic going on. Think about some people you've talked lately, like that motherfucker's a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Think about that, man. Think about a year ago, right? Just to think of where the head goes, man. Think about, you know what I mean? A year ago, we were talking about that caravan of the immigrants marching through Central America. And half the populace is like, no, they must not come in. The other half's like, you must come in. I wonder if the other half right now is still feeling, oh, please come in. Now there's no jobs and you got to walk around with a mask on, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you know what I mean? World events can shape the way people think. Even in, like, irrational things, man. So my question is really on the heroes and villains trip, man. I want to ask you this, man. I want you to think about it. You know what I mean? Is somebody who's a hero, right, still a hero You know what I mean? After they've committed like a vile atrocity. Or let's even take away the hero thing, man. Right? Is a person a villain who has created a great thing, who's, you know what I mean, really contributed to society in a positive manner? You know what I mean? Are you a villain just because of one fuck up, man? You know what I mean? One act of craziness? Think about, what if Les Paul, right? What if Les Paul went out, right, one night, and just in some crazy rage, right, killed Mary Ford and her friend named Ron Goldman? You know what I mean? Think about that, man. Right? Would we still be playing Les Paul? You know, even though Les Paul invented one of the greatest guitars of all times and rushed for 2,000 yards in a 14-game season, would he still be, you know, legend? Is it okay to listen to Phil Spector? Is Fat Albert still fat, man? Just tell me. Tell me. What happens to the legacy after the truth is told, man? I don't know. You know what I mean? Does it really mean anything? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Is Be My Baby still one of the greatest records of all time? I don't know. So the question here is, Framus, Hofner, hand in hand, you know, were any of these principles involve Nazis, man? Doesn't matter. Well, let's take a look at the facts that exist. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be, you know, I'm really not trying to, this is a very, very sensitive matter here. You know what I mean? We're talking about, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about genocide. You know what I mean? Ethnic cleansing. You know what I mean? But I'm going to add a little bit of sarcasm and humor just because a little bit of levity, man, is good for the soul. But, you know what I mean? I mean no disrespect to any person, shape, or thing. So here it is, man. This is a famous text. I got it at the flea market. You know what I mean? Early morning find, like I'm saying, man. Mint condition, all original. You know what I'm saying? It's a gorgeous archback guitar. So let's get into the tail, man. I'm gonna flip you around, talk to you a little bit more. Ready?
Chapter 1.
Wir sind die Gengenkungen von Bohemien!
So when I was a kid, man, in school, I got a school atlas. You know what I mean? And it got me like a lifelong love of geography and like collecting maps. So this is a school atlas from 1943 from Germany, man. And you can see, you know, we can get an idea of who the German people, you know, thought they were by sort of looking at, you know, who they thought they were, right? So this is from 1943. That's like, you know what I mean? You see, it's got like a Hitler Youth stamp on here, the actual, you know, catalog, you know, Reich number. You know what I'm saying? This is like real deal here, folks. And I mean, the first page of most atlases is like a map of the world. Now this one, man, it's a map of Germany, man. You know what I'm saying? These guys, you know what I'm saying? Hitler was a trip. Now you can see, you know what I mean? Let's talk about exactly where this all started here. You know, you see that little C where the Reich. You know, see that C? See this little tiny hamlet here? Schon. This region right here. The Jäger region. The Schon region. Schonbach, man. In 1867, right? Karl Hofner was born in Schonbach, right? Now this region was known, as I spoke before in the history of the guitars, for, you know, stringed instruments, violins, right? And they're all little, you know, Santa Claus workshops, you know what I'm saying? And this is in the Northern Alps, man, you know what I'm saying? So, basically, you know what I mean, he was a son of a cooper. Coopers are woodworkers, you know what I mean? And he took barrel wood when he was 12 and he built a violin out of it, like perfect violin. So he went to apprentice with Anton Schaller, actually. Yes, Anton Schaller. And he was a master luthier, you know, violin maker. And within a couple years, you know, by 1885, you know what I mean, my man Karl Hofner started a little factory, man, a little violin factory. Now the idea of the workshop, you know, was that, you know, they had a couple, you know, people making the whole instrument. But Schaller taught my man Hofner a special trick, man. He said, look, there are all kinds of artisans that live all around here. Some are good making necks, some of them are good making bodies. Why don't you find those people that are good making stuff and have them just concentrate on making one thing? And then you build a factory, you get all their pieces.
You know what I mean? You pay them to do it, and you buy their wood, and you assemble them, and you sell them. And it worked, man. My man set up like a little thing. All the little people, instead of toiling on like a whole violin, they would just toil on a piece. And Hofner would, you know what I mean, get the things. Now, the violin, man, was a loved instrument of the Jewish people, man. There are a lot of Jewish people in at that time, you know what I mean, becoming more metropolitan. You're coming out of their little, like, you know what I mean, shtetls, and starting to live amongst, you know what I mean, and starting, you know what I'm saying, the melting pot of Europe, you know what I mean. And, you know what I mean, they were huge, you know, Fiddler on the Roof, for crying out loud, right? Huge buyers of the Hofner violins, you know what I mean. They would export it all into Russia, you know what I mean, and we're all Poland, where all the Jews lived, you know what I mean. The United States, man, basically. So Hofner had two sons, man, right? The oldest one was Joseph, and the youngest one was Walter, right? And they were going to, you know what I'm saying, and they were going to learn, you know what I mean, you know, all about the violin. So they, you know what I mean, got good educations and, you know, learned their stuff. Joseph became a salesman for his pop, right? And Walter, you know, worked in production, worked in the design, a real smart guy, right? So these guys were at the top of their game, you know what I'm saying? Joseph, the older son, he actually, in the early days of, you know, the Hitlerdom, you know, so he became like the board of trade rep for, you know, all trade going in and out of Czechoslovakia. You know what I'm saying? This is in like 1933, 1934. You know what I mean? You know, they say, you know what I mean? This area of Bohemia wasn't even really part of Germany, man. You know, that's what this whole area was, Bohemia. You know what I'm saying? It was really part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Hitler wasn't even from Germany, man. He was from Austro-Hungarian Empire too. But they're German people, man. Europe is full of clans, man. You know what I mean? Just racial clans, man. You know what I mean? They just move from place to place, and then, you know, neighbors end up hating each other because, you know what I mean, they're jealous. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Human nature, folks. So, you know, the Hofner boys learned how to play guitar also, and they sort of, you know, coaxed their dad, hey, man, why don't we start making guitars too, Dad? Because they were guitarists, you know. So they started focusing on other instruments other than violins, which proved to be a good idea down the line. But they were the kings, man. They were the kings. Chapter 2.
Was zum Teufel? Was ist mit meiner Heimat passiert?
I want to show you this map also. This is basically, you know what I mean, the growth of Germany since 1933. Saying basically, you know what I mean, when these parts voluntarily or involuntarily became part of the Reich. Now, we can see the Sudetenland became part of the Reich, according to the Hitler Youth, in 1938. Right? So, coincidentally, you know what I mean, the Hofner history, Walter and Joseph were both conscripted into the German army that same year. Now, Walter and Joseph Hofner are both in middle age. I mean, Joseph must have been like damn near 50 years old at the time. So, methinks that the boys were made very good offers they could not refuse. Basically, you got, you know, lead poisoning in the head if you didn't follow, you know what I mean, the requested orders of the Reich, right? So these guys now, Joseph Hofner, you know what I mean, he was on the board of trade. He was already in politics, so he probably also happened to know, you know, from his past history where all the Jews lived. You know, he was a salesman, you know what I mean? Well, throughout continental Europe, throughout the world, really, right? Because he was selling basically Jews, so he was helpful to Nazis. I'm just speculating here, folks. You know, I mean, why a 50-year-old man might be, you know what I mean, useful to the Nazis. You know what I mean? And, of course, Walter was good with, you know, design. He was good with building stuff. He was, you know, like a, you know, a real technical guy. So they were basically, you know what I mean, elsewhere during the war. They weren't at the factory. The only, you know, instruments that were being made in the back workroom of old Karl Hofner, who was like 80 years old, and he was making a couple of violins, you know, trying to keep his head straight. Walter's wife actually, you know what I mean, took charge of the factory, and the Nazis had him making, you know what I mean, pretty much wooden shoes for the stormtroopers, boots, you know, wooden, you know, soles, you know what I'm saying, shoe soles, and also wooden crates. I don't know what was in the wooden crates, armaments, clothes, poison gas, who knows what the hell was in there, man. You know what I mean? But, you know, they come back after the war, you know what I mean?
And luckily, Joseph, you know what I mean, he came back scot-free. You know, the Allies didn't arrest him for nothing. But unfortunately, fortunately, we don't know what exactly. Walter was held in a POW camp. He must have done something to be in a POW camp for 3 years, right? So, you know what I mean, it was all disarray, man, after the war. Now, this part of Sudetenland became part of Czechoslovakia. Schonbach became part of, Czechoslovakia after the war, right? And, I mean, so Joseph's there with his old father, and there became tension with, you know what I mean, the wife of Walter. You know, she's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean, I was in charge now. This old man's coming back, you know what I mean, telling me what to do. And then to make matters worse, you know what I'm saying, the communists came in and, like, nationalized the company. So, you know, she went from being, like, head of the boss to being, like, you know what I mean, like, fourth in command after the state, after Carl, after Joseph. So a young fellow by the name of Fred Wilfer, he was the son of the wood supplier. His father, he was wealthy. He was like a young man, 23, 24 years old. And his father had all the contracts to get all the wood from the Alps, you know what I mean? He was supplying with the finest wooden, products, you know what I mean? Throughout the war too, you know what I mean? They were all connected. And he's like, look, Dal, let me get you out of this place. You know what I mean? We don't need to be in this communist land. So he started arranging shipments of you know what I mean, all the people want to get out of that communist state, you know what I mean, sort of subversive thing, brought them all to Bavaria, man. You know what I mean, Bavaria. Let me get back here to the page 1 here, man, so I can give you a little bit better references, man, because that map's too small, man. It's a letter from Hitler's brother. Let's see, man. All right, so basically, you know what I mean, my man, you know what I'm saying, we started bringing everybody back to, like, Nuremberg, you know, and they were over here, right? And he brought them over to this area, but he had them all down here in this region, right? Take a good look down here. You know, he actually set up shop in an old, you know what I mean, you know, burned out factory, right? And he was down here, you know what I mean, making some guitars and bringing everybody over here. And he brought the wife, let her have ground floor too, you know what I mean? She had a little piece of the action. So there was some conflict in the family. So Walter's wife was working over here with this young guy. He set up a company called Framus, because if you had a Nazi past, man, you couldn't set up a company yet. You know what I mean? They didn't want you Nazis back in business, man. So basically, you know what I mean, he was restricted. So this guy had no Nazis, a young guy. His father might have been Nazi. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's a clean history. The wife had a clean history. So they set up Framus, man. Set up the shop in here, man. So that sets the stage for our next chapter. Chapter 3.
Hey Weeks, das ist mein Frau!
So 1947 rolled around. Walter Hofner gets out of jail. Now, while he was in the prison camp, right, he actually built, like, guitars out of, like, he was working, I guess, in the kitchen, and he was taking wooden packing crates and, like, bringing them back to his cell and whittling, like, guitar, like, necks out of them. And he took, like tin can, you know what I mean, like Spam cans, and, like, cut the tops off them, like, so straight, you know what I mean, tin cans, and was using them as frets. You know what I mean? He totally was building guitars while he was in the POW camp. As soon as he got out, he came to work for Framus. He was working for Fred. He's working with his wife. You know what I'm saying? And, you know what I mean? Things were, you know, good at first. He was, you know, back in power, I guess, but he was jealous, man. This young guy making all the money. You know what I mean? His wife's making money. And he was the one who had the, you know what I mean? They brought him in because, you know, he had to organize the shit, man. So, you know what I mean? Things were just ugly, man. You know what I mean? All tension started growing once Walter got out of the prison camp, man. And meanwhile, back in Czechoslovakia, you know what I'm saying? Back in the heart of Bohemia, you know what I'm saying? My man Joseph Hofner was having his own problems, man. The government decided to, you know, in 48, the same time, right about a year after his brother got out of jail and started working for Framus, so they wanted to get rid of all the Germans, man. Get them out! These Nazi fucks, get them the fuck out! Kick them all out, man. You know what I'm saying? Now, Framus was already taking, people don't want to live in a communist place, so he was already taking most of the good, skilled, you know what I mean, artesian people, you know what I'm saying, you know what I mean, out of Schonbach, bring him down to Bavaria. You know what I mean? But Joseph was cunning, man. He was a cunning man, and that sets the stage for our next chapter. Chapter 4.
Versuchst du meine Erben auszuben sollen? Ich siege sie auf Sack!
So things were real ugly from my man Joseph Hoefner, 1948. You know, he was getting kicked out of his own company. It wasn't even called Hofner anymore. It's called Cremona. It's still called Cremona, actually. It still exists in Czechoslovakia, man. You know what I'm saying, man? So he had to bring his old father back, you know what I mean? Embarrassment, you know what I mean? And he must have talked to his brother. You know what I mean? He must have been like, what is going on? Why are you working with his younger jerk-off and your wife? You know what I'm saying, man? Must have found out, you know what I mean, he was unhappy. But Wilfer had the connections, man. You know what I mean? He was able to, you know, he had greased all the government people, and he was having, you know, their passports pretty much set right to the Framus factory door. So Joseph Hofner, man, he was a politician. He knew the same people to grease the palms, man. So he started talking to his boys, you know. Hello, my friend, this Weasel is stealing all of my family workers. So these, you know, people listened to old Joe, started sending all the people directly to him, and he bought like a, you know what I mean, like from the state, an old concentration camp, believe it or not, and set up Hofner again. You know what I mean? And eventually he lured his brother, you know what I mean, out of Framus, you know what I mean? They set up Hofner shop again, man. So that's the end of chapter 4. And finally, chapter 5.
Ich höre nur Tupac, weil ich weiß, dass ihr lebt und ich hinjagen und Toten mochte.
Supposed to be a world atlas. This Nazi like atlas is really a trip, man. It's basically just maps of Europe, man. I mean, it's not really too many like other countries involved, man. It's just pretty much 1,000 pages of maps of Europe, man. Europe, man. Oddly, man, there's also like a whole bunches of like maps of Africa in here, man. You know, man, maybe Hitler liked rap music, bro. You know what I'm saying? You never know, man. And it's not until the last fucking page, man, all the way at the back, man, after Antarctica, is there a picture of North and South America. Yeah, fucking, isn't that great, man? Fucking. So let's show you some pictures, man. Pictures is a billion words, man. There's a map of the stars, man. Let's take a look at some pictures, bro. So let's get some pictures, man. Because a picture, you know what I mean, tells a million words. I'm not going to bore you like this was Tranquilo Giannini. Just going to give you a little tiny piece, man. Just a taste, man. So this is Freddie, man. Fred Wilfer, man. This is the guy from Framus, man. Yeah, a young man, you know what I'm saying? Is he a Nazi? I don't know. Does he look like a Nazi to you? Not sure. That's just, you know what I mean, a face behind the madness. So that's what he looks like. Let's talk about the Hofners real quick. Do these guys look like Nazis to you? Oh, of course not, man. Come on now. Really?
Look at the Hitler mustache!
This is Joseph Hofner and Walter Hofner. Right? Walter Hofner, man. You know what I'm saying? He invented the Hofner bass, bro. He invented, not only did he invent the Hofner bass, designed it himself, designed the staple pickups, oversaw the production of it. I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? What was he in the POW camp for? I'm not sure. Now, did these guys, you know what I mean, really mean to... Were they, you know what I mean, were they bad people? You know what I mean? Even though this dude definitely... Joseph definitely looks like, you know what I mean, like he wants to be, you know, Hitler. You know what I'm saying, man? No. The Hofner family have always, you know what I mean, said, I don't know if this is just sort of like, you know what I mean, to sort of free themselves from any sort of, you know what I mean, guilt they might have, that their Jewish contacts around the world were the first ones to reach out to them after the war and make sure they're alright, send them money, send them care packages, clothes, medicine and shit, man. You know what I mean? They always said they appreciated that. Who knows what the hell they were doing during the war? You know,
they definitely, you know what I mean, with their fiddles, you know, the Hofner family made a lot of Jewish families very happy before the war, man. Made a lot of, you know what I mean, people around the world happy with their violin bass, man, afterwards. So, and in the end, man, the love you take, man. So, is it time to leave the past behind? Let's think one more picture at the Hofner brothers and decide, man. These two boys, man, as I said, they became guitarists. And they used to, like, serenade the guitars being loaded on the plane. You know what I mean? This is a picture from, like, 57, 58. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is my man Walter Hofner. And there's Joseph Hofner jamming the fuck out on some Hofner guitars, man. As their Hofners get loaded in the plane, man. You know what I'm saying? Any dudes that would do that, you know, all right, my book, man. You know what I'm saying, man? These people are all long dead, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna stroke that Beatle bass. I'm gonna tickle that Framus. Fuck the noise, people. Now, let's get back to the Beatles, man. Now, we've already established that this gentleman has used the Hofner product his entire existence, right? This guy's never used the Hofner product. This gentleman, you know, he played a Hofner Club 40, of course. This gentleman also Club 40. He also played a Hofner President. But we're not talking about Hofner here, people. Right? We're talking about Framus. So let's stop talking about Hofner for a minute and get in the Framus frame of mind. The Beatles also have a big Framus connection, folks. The Beatles and the Framus connection started when John Lennon, you know, late 1964, got a 12-string guitar made by Framus. The Framus Hootenanny, man. Here he is on set of the film Help. He recorded the song, You Gotta Hide Your Love Away, man. Beautiful song, man. That's Framus Hootenanny on it, man. The great John Lennon, bro. We love you, Johnny. There he is with the beautiful Framus Hootenanny. So the Beatles have a connection. But I mean, so John Lennon, you look up Framus on the internet, that's the first thing they say. Hootenanny, John Lennon, Help, 1965. You know what I mean? That's the blurb you see about Framus on the internet, right? But you know what I mean? Let's talk about this photograph right here, folks. All right. It's George Harrison playing that Hofner President. John Lennon playing a Galatone champion guitar from South Africa. And here's Paul McCartney. And this picture about 1957, 58, something like that. Long, long time ago. Little Beatle boys. This is a guitar made by Framus for Selmer, man. Right? I believe that it was called the Zenith Rossetti. Zenith something, man. Zenith some shit, man. But it was made, I should have been a little bit more prepared, man. I don't know, man. McCartney still has the guitar, man. Still plays it today. This is a couple of years ago when he still had some hair dye in the closet, man. He's in quarantine, so his hair's all white now. That's the same old Framus. You know what I mean? His little Zenith guitar, man. God bless you, man. I love you, Paul McCartney. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about heroes and villains, man. I've been in this town so wrong to the city. I'm fit with the stars who ride in the rough and sunny down snuff. I'm alright. By the heroes and villains. Let's talk about the guitar now, people. And here it is, people. I don't know if this is the original case. Probably not. Case that I got it with, anyway. These weird metal parts, man. It's bizarre. Look at that. It's got like a chrome nut. I've seen these nuts removed. I've seen the zero fret the gouge out there, and they just put like a bone nut in. It sounds a lot better. Strange little string retainer in there. Some serious metal work. Let's take a look at this label. Built in the heart of Bavaria. Model Western 5195. Now the 5295 was a 12 string. There was a model called Texan, had a bigger body. That was actually the 5196, and they had a 12 string too. Look at that line. It says tested by. The last number there, 71B. 71 is the year, folks. 71B, so the second half of 1971. The cool thing about this guitar, anybody that's acquired a 50-year-old acoustic guitar knows that the neck reset is always the dreaded sort of, you know what I mean? So with the bolt-on neck, these are like 4-inch bolts, man.
easy to reset the neck, right? No steaming. Let's get this guy out here, man. Let's get it out of the slab. So there it is, man. Luckily, Wanda Hofner, had a great rapport with some of those showing back artisans, you know what I mean? She might even save their lives, you know what I mean? You've seen Schindler's List. You know what I mean? Having a good job with a good boss. Difference between life and death. Nazi Germany, man. I think these metal parts, you see that from the get-go from Framus. I think that's something to do with Walter Hofner, man. I think that's probably what he was doing during the war, man. They're making these little metal things. Because you see them that start popping up right from the get-go on the Framuses, man. Which is cool beans. Real cool beans. Let's talk real quick about these tuning keys, man. And I told you that the name of the luthier that trained old Carl Hofner, you know what I mean, the art of the stringed instrument, his name was Anton Schaller. Well, his grandson, you know what I mean, fellow countryman of Fred Wilfer, and the Hofner family came to see Fred after the war was over. Say, look, I got a new company set up. We're making little radio speakers and a little machine shop making little machine parts. If you need anything, let me know. Have you ever made tuners before, my friend? Guitar tuners. Well, now you are. So that's where Schaller started, man. True story, man. Making Framus' tuners. That's where they got their thing. Also, man, Framus made all the drums for my man Tranquillo Giannini from deep inside the rainforest. All the drums sold by Giannini were made by Framus, man. So I guess it really comes down to, man, it's like, it doesn't matter who built your guitar, man. It matters what kind of person you are, man. Think of all the Western schools of thought, man. Do unto others as you'd have done to you. You know what I mean? Love thy neighbor. Well, you know what I'm saying? Do good, feel good. Do bad, feel bad. What goes around comes around, man. You know what I mean? That's, you know what I mean, really the make of a person. Doesn't matter who built your guitar, man. You know what I mean? There's no stigma attached to objects like this. So, we talked about villains. Now let's talk about heroes, man. I'm just getting tired of people using this word hero so carelessly. Hero to me is an important word, man. Did I ever tell you you're my hero? You're everything that I would never be. You're the wind beneath my wings. That's something, important to me, man. And I'm not talking about George Washington or Thomas Edison or George Clinton or Greg Nettles, man. I'm talking about somebody, related to you, or somebody who touched you on a personal level, man, who shaped your life somehow. That's a real hero, folks. And I remember the first time when I was younger, understanding what a hero was. And I saw my grandfather as my biggest hero, man. This was a guy who was born in Tsarist Russia. He lived through the Russian Revolution. He lived through the, First World War. He came to this country when he was 12. He learned English in 6 months. Lost his accent in another 6 months. Served in the most highly decorated bomber crews in the Pacific. They happened to crash land in the icy Pacific Ocean. The quick thinking of my grandfather saved the lives of every man in that crew, man. They were flying missions in another week. He was a hero. He was there every day to pick me up from school, to make me lunch, you know what I mean? Help me with my homework. And then just, that unconditional love, man. That's what a hero is, folks. You know what I mean? I just feel sometimes in this culture, people like to be stroked, man. You know what I mean? They have to constantly be reminded, you know what I mean? Here's the carrot. The first time I sort of became conscious of, hero being overused, I remember when I was a little kid, the Challenger exploded, the space shuttle, man. And I remember watching the news and being confused about it. And they were basically saying that it was like a part had frozen, like the gasket froze between the booster rocket or something. I forget exactly what it was. You know what I mean? Something terrible like that. It was a stupid human error, right?
And they kept calling them brave heroes astronauts. And I thought to myself as a young kid, like brave hero. Hero is something you aspire to be, right? I don't want to blow up in some stupid accident. These people didn't do anything heroic. They were tragic victims, really. They weren't heroes. Why do they keep calling them heroes, man? You know what I'm saying? And then as I got older, I was more and more, every time a tragedy would happen, everybody was a hero, you know? It's like, come on, you know, enough with the hero stuff, man. Because when a real hero comes along, you're not even going to recognize it anymore, man. Just think. Please. Think before you think. All right, that's enough of me talking, man. I'm going to lose every last subscriber. Wash your hands, people. Wash them good. I know what you're thinking, man. This guy's fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Glorifying Nazis, right? Collecting Nazi school books. Like jerk off. Making fun of all those heroes out there, Dunkin' Donuts, man. Fuck this guy, man. Let me say a couple other things, right? Just to point out to you. Think about all the people around the world during this crazy crisis that lost their lives. The old people who sacrificed in those nursing homes because somebody went into work who had like a dry cough and didn't want to tell their boss just because they were afraid of, you know, not getting paid. Think about all those people who died, man. All over the world, man. Think about that. Is that person a hero? Right? And I also want you to think about another thing, man. You ever hear of Typhoid Mary? There's a lady that worked as a cook in a restaurant in New York City in the 1920s, right? And this lady had typhoid, man. And she was breathing in people's food and shit, coughing in people's food. And over like 20 years, she killed like thousands of people. There was like 7, 8 typhoid outbreaks because of this one lady. Was she a hero? Was she a villain? Was she right in the middle? Who knows, man? I just want you to think about those words. They're very powerful words. Let's not, you know what I mean? Be careful who's a hero. And be careful who you call a villain. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very strong. So I'm going to get a little bit, you know what I mean, less, you know what I mean, harsh with you, man. Talk about Nazis all crazy stuff. Let's bring it down a notch, man. Let's talk about Mr. Rogers, man. Mr. Rogers was one of my heroes growing up, man. He was like a third parent. You know what I'm saying? I wish I could just go through that screen sometimes and just, you know what I mean? You know, just be guided by his mentorship, man. But he was just a TV thing, you know what I'm saying? But he had a lot of lessons. He sort of, you know what I mean, gave me my life. You know what I mean? Like one thing I remember he always did that in times of trouble, he'd always make these like announcements on the show, like always look for the helpers. You know what I mean? Always look for the people, you know what I mean, that are there to help. He didn't say heroes. He said look for the helpers. Because that's where you want to be, right? He didn't ever say heroes, helpers, man. So look for the helpers. And I want to thank all you helpers out there, man. Helping us through. Because we are in this together. And another thing I want to talk about, Mr. Rogers, one more time just to beat the dead horse. There's a Mr. Rogers, when we talked about heroes, right? And when you go to like one of these like, you know, award shows where they give him some kind of medal or something like that, right? He'd always make the same speech. You know, he said that, I want you to think what a hero really is. A hero, to me, is somebody that loved you into being. I'm just your neighbor. A hero is somebody who sacrificed what they didn't have so you could have a better life. You know what I mean? Who cared more about you than they cared about themselves. That's a hard thing to do. But I'm sure you have somebody in your life that did that for you. And if you don't, I feel terrible. But I'm sure you do. So what he used to do, man, he used to get out his little stopwatch and he said, I want you to just give me 1 minute of your time, man. And I want you to think about this person who loved you into being. I know in this like riddling age, minutes a long time, I'm going for 30 seconds. So please, close your eyes if you have to. Think about that one special hero. Start now. that's a hero. Now I want you to think real quick how you felt when you lost that person. And if you're lucky enough to still have them in your life, how terrible you would feel if you did lose them. And I want you to hold on to that for just a minute, because that's a hero. Is it the same thing as that person at Dunkin' Donuts? Am I wrong? I don't know. I'm asking you. Billy, don't be a hero, don't be a fool, man. You know what I'm saying? Look at what's happened to me. I can't believe it myself. Suddenly I'm up on top of the world. Should have been somebody else. Believe it or not, oh, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free. Flying away on the wing of a plane. Who could it be? Believe it or not, it's just me. La 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 la. And it happened on the fall of a piece in the valley, and it's all an effect of my life with the Beatles and Framus. 1971, Framus. 595. From deep in the heart of Bavaria. Inga Steile, Andilu, Honda, Toda, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the cantina, Margarita kept the spirit high.